Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SFGMC TV. My name is Mitch Galli, and I am the Associate Artistic Director for the chorus. And today we are joined with Joe English, who has a company that is aligned with a lot of the work that the chorus is doing right now in getting into the community and working with youth. He is the founder of an organization called Hope in a Box. Welcome, Joe. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me, Mitch.
Where are you calling us from?
I am in my place in Brooklyn. I've been waiting out the pandemic here for the last many months. It seems like it's been an eternity, but I'm here in Brooklyn, enjoying the nice weather. So it's nice to be calling in.
So can you tell us, what is the mission and vision of your organization and the story behind your program?
So we have a very simple vision, which is that every single kid deserves to feel safe and welcome and included at school, right? Regardless of their gender identity, regardless of their sexual orientation. And we see literature as really being the key piece of the puzzle there, where in the hands of a caring teacher, literature and books can really open the hearts and minds of kids. They can cultivate empathy, can fight against stereotypes. So our organization, Hope in a Box, we donate three things. First is a physical box of books that have LGBT characters and authors. The second is detailed Common Core aligned curricula for those books to make it as easy as possible for teachers to actually use them in their classrooms. And then the third is a whole set of peer-to-peer mentorship, professional development, community building for teachers to really help them work through any questions or tough scenarios that come up in the classroom if they work with the materials for the first time. So we piloted these materials with 30 schools last year, got some really good feedback from teachers. And as of this fall, we'll be working with about 300 schools across the country to get the resources to more schools. So that's the mission and vision. And the personal side of it, I grew up in a 1,900 person kind of farm town way upstate New York. And for me as a kid, I never really saw anything that I felt really spoke to me, right? None of the books I was reading, none of the movies I was watching, nothing, really connected with me. And it would have meant the absolute world to have had really one book with one gay character that I could have related to. But it didn't happen. So I ended up leaving high school, frustrated, pretty long, and didn't go back for many years until I decided I should actually share this pretty open conversation with and see what would it take to bring those materials to like mine, to my school today. So that the next crop of kids has something to relate to and can see that being queer is something you can be proud of, not something that you should hide or shrink away from. Mm-hmm. And that was really the conversation that gave birth to Open a Box, where they said, we'd love to do this, help us figure out where to start, and make sure that this is affordable for us, right? Because like a lot of rural schools, my school is free and fun. So that's a bit of the mission and some of the personal backstory.
So can you tell us, how do you select the literature that goes into this box?
Yeah. So educators are front and center in everything that we do. And in creating the book list, we work with more than 50 university professors and high school educators, high school and middle school educators, to figure out, okay, what is the best set of LGBTQ inclusive literature that we can put together and send to schools across the country. And that was a very collaborative effort where we pulled that together. I will say it's a living and breathing list of books that we work with, right? I mean, there's literature that's produced every single year. There are different books that seem to resonate with certain classrooms and less so with others. So the actual mix of books that we maintain and send to schools, it is very much a work in progress always.
Mm-hmm. And I know, so I'm a former educator, and I know that when we receive curriculums, it can be pretty daunting looking over the course of the year. Like, I need to fit all of this into 1 year. That's a lot to take in. And so one of the biggest things is knowing you have a curriculum ahead of time and you're not creating things from scratch, but it is a challenge to squeeze it in. So what are ways that you're working with educators to make sure that it's a seamless, streamlined thing into their classroom that they can easily include this literature?
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, I think that starts really with some of the initial feedback we had gotten from teachers when we ran the pilot last year, right, with those 30 schools. in that pilot, we really focused on just donating the books. There was some curriculum that accompanied the books, but it was really just focused on the books. And what we heard from teachers was very similar to what you're just saying here, which is, okay, for us to really use these in a meaningful way in our classrooms, we need more, right? We really need some extra curriculum that has been curated for us, that is tied to the standards that we and our students are evaluated against, and that is something we can pull off the shelf and use like in a very quick and ready way, but also can be adapted to our own unique context. Every school's different. Mm-hmm. So we have spent the last 6 months, there's a team of probably 5 or 6 experienced high school English teachers and professional curriculum writers. We've been pulling together that suite of detailed Common Core aligned curriculum that we can give to teachers that, as I said, is aligned with the standards they're measured against, that is modular, it's adaptable, and it's detailed so that it's really usable for students, for teachers. So that's discussion questions, writing prompts, student activities, wrap-up questions. It's really, they're very comprehensive. So that's been something that has been a huge priority for us and that we heard loud and clear from our educators for sure.
Approximately how long is a unit for a book?
I mean, that's something that totally is up to the individual educator. I mean, we go to the quite a level of depth so that if an educator does want to spend, 4 to 6 weeks on a book, there is enough content in there where they can absolutely do that, right? But it's also, again, it's modular, mm-hmm. so that if they want to instead spend, a week on it, they can pull out different segments of it without, target a couple set of discussion questions from writing prompts. But we recognize, I mean, in all these cases, each classroom is different. So we make sure that our guides respect that and give many different options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We'd love to hear that as educators.
Yep.
Adaptability, that is so important. So why is the mission itself is incredible, and being in the same shoes as you growing up and not having that literature, I can only imagine what it would be like. Why is the mission so important right now?
I think one of the most underreported stories of the last 6 months has been the toll that the COVID pandemic has taken LGBTQ kids. So many of these kids have been separated from their support networks. A lot of them have been confined to homes where they won't be accepted. And there was actually a terrible stat from the Trevor Project, which was saying that the number of LGBT kids calling their suicide hotline had doubled since the start of the pandemic, right? So as these kids start coming back to school this fall, whether they're in person, whether they're online, somewhere in between, it is particularly important this fall that they feel safe and welcome and included in their classrooms. And again, what we are hearing from the teachers that we work with across the country is that, again, literature and the curriculum that these students are seeing in their own classrooms is such an important piece of that puzzle, right? Because if they can feel like they're welcome and included in class, it has a huge effect, right, on their well-being, on bullying, on their outlook, the way that they feel within their own homes as they're doing their studies. So it really is particularly important this fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is a shift in general, and I know a lot of teachers are appreciating additional curriculum that they can do virtually or in a hybrid model, because the shift is quite shocking to our systems as education system. So can you tell us, how are teachers' needs and interests in your program evolving with the pandemic and the shift into virtual instruction?
Yeah. So there are a bunch of interesting things actually in here. I mean, one was, okay, how do we deliver our core program in a way that's responsive to what teachers want right now? Like I was saying, we typically send physical boxes of books, right? And in a lot of cases, teachers or students are uncertain about whether they'll be physically in the classroom. How does that change the way that we support them? Our initial thought was, okay, let's move everything digital, right? Let's just do everything, all ebooks, all digital curriculum, all digital training. But we did a listening session with a bunch of teachers to see if that was right. And actually what we heard is that they still prefer to get physical boxes of books. It makes sense if you think about the fact that, okay, we actually support mainly lower income and rural schools. In a lot of cases, they don't have the technology, the e-readers, the tablets, the great quality internet, where it makes sense in all cases just to go fully online. it also makes sense in that a lot of these more remote areas, there's a little bit more of an ability to go back in person in school. So there's still the use of physical resources. So by and large, we heard from educators, they still wanted the physical boxes of books, and that they would like to have a lot of the curricular and the coaching delivered online. So it's kind of a hybrid for us as well. But see, the other piece that came through is, a lot of teachers are really exhausted right now. They're being asked to play not only the role of teacher, but unfortunately, in a lot of cases, the role of therapist and nurse and guidance counselor. There's so many other things on their plate while they're reinventing their curriculum from scratch. Mm-hmm. So one thing that we were hearing was there are other things that we could help develop that would be a little bit of like, virtual field trips or, piped in like speaker series or speaker panels, things like that are still educational and exciting and meaningful for students, but get the students and the teachers outside of this traditional Zoom classroom format. Those were also very exciting and welcome. So this fall, we're trying to work with other organizations and with a number of LGBTQ authors to put on some workshops and shows for some of our students to keep things fresh.
That's awesome. So we, as I had mentioned, have our own educational outreach program, Rhythm, Reaching Youth Through Music, that I am the director for. And our whole premise was taking the chorus into schools and doing this performance after a few weeks of workshops with smaller groups within the school and smaller communities. And that's also kind of been shaken upside down, obviously. And so we're in the process right now of, rather than doing it as like a final capstone assembly, doing a series of mini lessons that will provide to educators. And like you said, with adaptability and kind of choosing and making it what makes the most sense for them, they'll also be able to do that, where they'll see a description of, in this mini lesson, you'll hear a story about a trans man who was raised in Texas and realized that he was bisexual and transitioned to become a man and yada, yada, yada. And then there will also be accompanying content so they can know ahead of time, like, this is what my students are going to be learning about. And additionally, beyond that, we'll have follow-up questions. But I think one of the things that I love about your organization that's so aligned with ours is going and starting with the stories first and taking our stories and then using art to accentuate it or literature to accentuate it and to like continue to expand it even more and help us realize that we are all the same, regardless of our gender, our race, our sexuality. So really, we were so thrilled to hear about this. So can you tell us now, in the transition about music and art, how can theater, arts, other forms play a role in this curriculum?
Yeah. One of the things that at least we're hearing from our students and teachers that get kids the most excited is multimedia, right? It's being able to experience a story in a way that can live and breathe, right? So part of that, yes, absolutely comes through the pages of the book. But it is even better if it can be accompanied by, music, by a film, by a show. So one of our favorite things that we give to schools is for Fun Home, right? So it's obviously an incredible graphic novel, very popular among students and our educators, but also has the Tony Award-winning show that comes along with it, the incredible soundtrack. And that brings it to life in a new way. Again, if the whole point is to cultivate empathy and bring these stories to life for kids, finding more of those opportunities to pull in music, film, other types of media, it's something that we are really prioritizing and again are finding works the best for students.
And we have many singers in our chorus who love that musical, so I know you have them on board. If you ever need a performance or two, you can just ask us.
I mean, there's so many good ones. Right? The Color Purple, obviously, is another huge hit. We're developing our curriculum for that this fall, too. Right. There's so many. It's wonderful, right? It's a great thing.
The possibilities are for sure endless.
Yeah.
So when we talked about this, one of the things we were talking about is how can we better engage with one another and kind of have a symbiotic relationship. And so one thing that we're in the process of developing is a little infographic and even a download card that we can include in your boxes so that these schools in the middle of the country in rural America who may have never heard of a gay chorus before can have access about the history of this first gay chorus in the country and the start of the movement, and even then be directed to Spotify or other streaming services where they can hear the music.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you to have this symbiotic relationship, hopefully?
I think that students would be super excited about this, right? And I think, and there's a multimedia piece that I was just talking about in bringing this box to life beyond literature. But I also think that there's something powerful in potentially bringing in some of those stories that you were talking about, right? That are part of your guys' curriculum, and sharing the journeys that people in your organization have had to where they are now. And perhaps like with that postcard or flyer and the music, including even, one or two of those human stories too, I think would be really powerful. And I think would be really, really appreciated by the students and by the teachers. So that's another thing that I think would be really exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, even though you're typically in rural places, I mean, a lot of the schools that we go to in the Bay Area are more suburban, because we actually don't spend as much time in the city. We do go surrounding Bay Area. And our other program that it gets better toward travels all over the country, primarily in more rural settings. And so having your curriculums and LGBTQ stories and literature that we can then offer these school districts that we're interacting with and now once you've had this program, here's additional follow-up curriculum that you can continue these discussions. It's phenomenal. So we're so excited about that.
Absolutely.
What's your long-term plan, would you say right now, for like the next 5 to 10 years?
So I'd say there are like two things that are really guiding us. I mean, first is reaching more schools, right? I mean, there are, give or take, there are about 7,000 rural school districts in the United States. This fall, we'll be working with about 300, right? So there's quite a bit to go. I mean, we're still new, right? We grew from 30 last year to 300 this year. Hopefully we can continue this pace of growth, but there's definitely need all over the country. So growth is a big priority for us. And I also think that it's achievable, right? The cost of supporting one school is just $300. And so it's not like it's actually going to take an insane amount of money to actually reach all of those school districts. So it's up to us to figure out then how we actually make that happen. But that's one piece. I think the second is, getting to your earlier point about like listening to students and teachers and what they need, is continuing to deepen the quality and improve the quality of the program as we're growing, right? And especially in a time when what the classroom looks like is totally in flux, and what students' needs are, and guidance counselors' needs, and librarians' needs, and teachers' needs, everything's in flux. It is a huge priority for us to keep our ear to the ground, talk to a ton of teachers, and make sure our program is responsive and hitting the most important needs over the next year or 2 years as we figure out what education will look like post-COVID and during COVID. It's a scale piece, and then it's very much the quality piece, always with the eye on reaching every single school district in the United States.
So if a school hears about this organization and they really want to bring it to their school, what is the process? How do they get to do that?
You literally just go to hopeinabox.org, and there's a button on the front page that says "Get Your Box." So we make it.
Is there an expense to the school then?
So as of now, because we're still we want to get the word out and we're in our growth phase, it is a free service. Like I said, the cost to us is about $300. So we're fundraising all far and wide to make sure we can meet the need of schools. But from a school's perspective, at this point, it's free.
The box itself, I still haven't seen one, but you told us in our initial conversation about it.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Pretty fabulous from what it sounds like. What does it look like?
I thought I'd shown you one before. Yeah, they are fun, proud rainbow boxes that are branded with some Open a Box logos, a little bit of some inspirational quotes, but it's definitely, the teachers will receive it, and it will be a celebration in and of itself. So we're building on that. We're doing T-shirts soon. We're going to do some stickers. So there are other ways to to celebrate as they get the box and with the box itself.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want just the box itself. I feel like it sounds like art that I would hang on my wall. I don't know if my partner would like that.
I'll share a picture. We're shipping our first big batch for this fall to 100 schools next week. So I'll send a photo in case it's like helpful to attach to the video.
Perfect. So now tell us, finally, how can the SFGMC community and audience and fans and those connected to us, how can they show their support or get involved if they want to?
So the first, if there is as an educator or a school in your area or maybe in your hometown that you think would benefit from this program, and there's a teacher that would be excited to participate and receive Hope in a Box, send them to our website, right? Like there, we have more spots in our fall shipment where we can support more schools. So send them to the website, ask people to sign up. We're very excited to share the program this fall. Let's see, the second is if you're excited about the program and you see its value, like I said, it costs about $300 to support one school. Donations at any size, of course, are helpful and make a difference. But on our website, there are a bunch of different levels for to give and to help bring the program to more schools. So supporting it financially is also really, really helpful. And I would say with any questions, my inbox is always open. Our team is here to chat about ideas, volunteer opportunities, etc. So my email is joe@hopeinabox.org. If you're interested in getting in touch to learn more, feel free to email me.
And this is not just limited to rural schools, correct? Any school is eligible for this.
So our focus area, it's rural schools and lower income schools. So more than 90% of our schools do fall within those categories. But like the world is complicated, right? So it's really a qualitative assessment, right? So there's certain schools that are more urban and have like a really demonstrated need, and there's the right opportunity for impact. So it never hurts to submit a request. So
right, and I mean, in a lot of schools in the Bay Area, even they are more progressive and very inclusive, but at the same time, there are teachers who are really dedicated to making the space that way, and so it may not have been that way once, and it is now, and it needs the momentum to continue that progress and movement forward and be a model for other schools in surrounding districts, possibly.
Totally. Yeah. And we actually, we have a bunch of schools in the Bay Area and probably, a couple dozen schools in California broadly, right? So there's definitely need there and we're seeing it. We're definitely stepping up to do as much as we can in that area of the country for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you again. This work is so incredible. We're so excited to continue this program and to help get the word out because it's really fantastic work that you're doing. Are there any final words that you wanted to share with educators, viewers, anyone who might be watching this?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm just really excited to work more with Rhythm and with SF, Gay Men's Chorus. I think there's so many opportunities to work together, and the more the merrier on this project. So thanks for having me today for sure. It was very important.
And this is for high school and middle school, correct?
Yeah, yes, good point. High school and middle school in the spring, we're probably building out a program for elementary school too. But this fall, it's middle and high school mainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully we'll see that happening in the Bay Area and some other places around the country as you continue to expand. So best of luck. And I'm sure that our audiences will be hearing more about you in the near future. So keep doing the good fight, the strong work, and we look forward to continuing this partnership.
Sounds good. Cool. Thanks, Mitch.
Awesome. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody.